Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this video. I was just playing some big Sciota, and my plan is to talk a little bit about some of the things that I think about when I'm improvising. Of course, this is a classic bluegrass tune that I think any mandolin player who's coming up should learn. It's really fun to play. It's got some fun chord changes. Some other things I was going to mention though, I have a new instructional video coming out. Probably by the time this video is up, I will have this edited and for sale on my website, isaaceichermusic.com, which this new instructional video is about essential scales and arpeggios and patterns that are important for learning the mandolin fretboard. So I encourage you guys to check that out. If you just think that, what is he doing? All these different things, it's all comes from that way of thinking, right? And it's really boils down to learning your scales and your arpeggios and then identifying those on the fretboard. So, and another thing I wanted to mention is that we are going back to Mexico in February of 2026. I've had several people reach out very recently asking, hey, is the Mexico Mandolin Retreat happening again next year? If so, put me on your email list. That has been such a fun trip that we've done the past 2 years. And of course, we're looking forward to the third annual Mexico Mandolin Retreat down in Michoacan, Mexico at Lake Pátzcuaro. Just a beautiful setting. So we're going to be looking forward to seeing people sign up for that and see what kind of group assembles to go down to Mexico and study mandolin. Okay, talking about music a little bit, I'm always preaching about your scales and your arpeggios. When I'm thinking about this, of course, I started out by playing the melody. And I want people to realize that the melody really is a perfect example of how to play over a certain group of chord changes. If you think about how this melody just stays on G for a while. So it does this scale stuff. Like definitely if you know your G scale in first position, that's really a good starting point. But then you realize that the arpeggio notes, your G, B, and D, those are like your anchor notes. That's how I describe them, because you can rest on those and you're really gravitating towards those the whole time, like when you're playing on a G chord. And then if you think about the melody, how it goes, that use of the E note, which is the sixth note of the scale, that could provide for many different types of chords, right? But a lot of times in this style of music, it's so common to play over the 1, 4, and 5, 6 minor, if the song goes to the 6 minor. Going to that E note really kind of signals, especially the way the melody was going along, it's just gravitating to those G major arpeggio notes. And then when we go to that note, it sounds so intentional, it needs to change chords and it goes to a C, right? That's the same type of thinking that happens, the idea behind playing melodic phrases that fit over chord changes. So when I'm playing like these lines, I'm doing things that may sometimes seem complicated, but again, I'll tell you, if you know your scales, it really just boils down to, what notes am I selecting at any given time? When I'm playing over G major, I'm definitely I'm traveling through the scale. And these little patterns pop up here and there, these little themes. And that to me is really musical, and I follow that. It just sounds musical and it's coming up with those patterns on the spot. It's maybe not improvised in the sense that it's just completely off of the top of my head, because it might be something that I've played many times before. That's really how this all works. I've played all of these notes with tons of different patterns and different little riffs before, so I'm just kind of picking and choosing when I should go for a certain song or like a certain riff that fits in the song. But when it goes to the C chord, I'm gravitating around that C note, and it's kind of the starting point for that lick where I launch into this. Something that people ask me a lot is that, are you just going to the C scale completely? Or are you thinking in the key of G? Sometimes it's useful to think about the key of G This is a good starting point. You could just be thinking about the key of G, and then when it goes to the C chord, think about bringing in some of those C major arpeggio notes, right? Or like a C scale style kind of riff. Now, the big question is, am I going to play an F natural or an F sharp, which would be in the F sharp is in the home key, G, right? It's in the G scale. But see, if you played a C scale, it has that F. I would say in a song like this, you could definitely get away with playing the F note. Even at one point, I kind of played... I do play an F note, which basically makes it like a G7, and then go to the C chord, okay? And you can kind of do both sounds, which is kind of an ambiguous answer, but in this case, I would say it definitely makes it sound like a little more bluesy when you go for that F natural note in G, making it a G7. And then, you know, in different contexts, there might be a song where I go to that 4 chord, but I want to preserve... where I preserve that F sharp sound over that C chord. But truthfully, a lot of times I'm just kind of avoiding, like when I go to a C scale run, I'm avoiding that F sharp or F natural. And you can really, if you're familiar with that pentatonic scale, that is like a C scale that's got the first, the second, the third. It avoids the fourth, and then it has the fifth and the sixth. So there's just part of that language, that bluegrass language. Really, both of those sounds are valid. You know, that F natural or that F sharp note. But in this case, I would say that you can put that F. Put that F natural. And then on the B part, of course, the chords are moving like G goes to the 5 chord. Over all of these chord changes, they're really diatonic, which means they're coming from the G scale. So you could play, especially, you know, you go to the 5 chord. It goes to that D7 sound. And the difference there is you can be playing the G scale, but you have to gravitate around new arpeggio notes, the D major arpeggio notes, just like how the melody goes. See how it goes to that A, which is in the... So if you're landing on or gravitating to any of those arpeggio notes, that's going to go a long way and it'll sound great. You know, of course, when I'm doing this kind of fiddle tune bluegrass style, I am just traveling a lot because I'm doing a lot of eighth notes. So it just becomes like, you know, I'm playing the scale, but I'm still gravitating and kind of basing my riffs off of a new set of arpeggio notes anytime I'm going to change chords. Okay guys, thanks for joining me for this video. Please be on the lookout for more YouTube videos and more content on my website, like the aforementioned new instructional video that's coming out really soon. See you soon. Bye.